it's us again, Claire and Todd.
Thanks for coming by.
And for this video, we were going to talk a little bit about interracial relationships and just a little bit about racism and things we've experienced as an interracial couple, right? So some of the things that we've experienced as an interracial couple, mostly good. We haven't had too many bad incidents or people that we ran into. But one of the things that I've noticed that you tend to run into with people is that they can come off very, like, they're not racist or anything like that, but they say a lot of racist jokes and, you know, they kind of do things on the low that are microaggressions, but eventually they build. That's just something that I've noticed over time. One of the things that I experienced when I moved to Reno was that, you know, I had a lot of people that would make jokes and they were like microaggressions towards me, but they always would build up to something more. Like they got more comfortable making jokes I would never make to them, you know? And I think it took a while, maybe like 4 years, for Todd to catch on to see like that these were things that were happening. I would tell him what was happening and that it was racism. But I guess since he'd grown up mostly around all white people, I don't think he really understood. I think he understood them. I just think that it was hard for him to stand up for me because all of his friends were white mostly, and the only time he really experienced color was when he went to college. So coming back around these people and standing up for what you know is wrong tend to be something that took him a long time to get the hang of. But I definitely think eventually he figured it out. Obviously Black Lives Matter helped a lot for him to figure it out. It was kind of like, now you need to really pick a side and understand, because I know you know what's going on. And, you know, some of the things were just like being around certain friends of his that would sing rap songs and, like, you know, make the emphasis of the N-word, you know, like to get a rise out of him or even me. And it was like, or, you know, saying like the Aryan race is the best race. And, you know, it was just like, wow, like these are crazy things that people say. But, you know, one of the things that I feel like really helped us to get through it, the racism, was pulling away. I decided on my own in 2018, like after no resolution of these things changing, my husband not really seeing or wanting to see that it was a toxic environment and these people were very toxic to be around, and it just didn't play well on my spirits and his spirits. Because I mean, we were in Oakland and we had a really good relationship and we like were doing so well. So to come to Reno and like kind of see our relationship start to fall apart, you kind of have to evaluate the people that you have around you. And I felt like once I pulled away in 2018 and got my distance and started making more friends, I did dance go-go and I made a lot more friends of color, of, you know, of different like backgrounds in terms of like sexuality. And I started to be so much more happy. Like when I started to surround myself with these people, I started to see like this isn't an everybody thing. This is a certain type of person thing. And I think that like racism, homophobia, all those things, like, and people not being able to be who they are, be honest with who they are, it plays a really, really deteriorating, what would you say, like self-imploding
drag on society and
yeah, and it's
everyone's
like,
psyche.
Yeah, and I'm from Laguna Beach, California, and that wasn't something I really had to deal with because we're a lot more about being open and a lot more gay activities, gay bars, clubs. It was just more accepted in Orange County, and I was actually one of few Black people in Orange County, if you've ever been there, and I actually never really had these problems either there because people just don't do that, you know. I also grew up in a more of a Christian household, so that's just not something people engage in. They don't find humor in that. So would you say it took you till 2020, till Black Lives Matter, to really see the things you didn't want to see? Because I mean, you had it in your family that was doing it to me, you know.
Well, what Claire's touching on, I would fully agree that it took me until 2020 to understand the difference between not being racist and being anti-racist. And, you know, I mean, we've been together 13 years. I was never what I would consider, or even at that time, racist. I never, I grew up in a super white town, only, super homogenous, uh, conservative, closed-minded in a lot of cases. And I didn't have exposure till I moved to LA and in college and then grad school. And started traveling internationally. That was one of the biggest things that opened my mind to what a small world you are from. If you never, you never leave, and you can leave, but if you never leave that sphere of origin, like of your friends and your family and your hometown, like if you are literally just a continuation of the same thing, and that's how I guess just the systemic injustice is so hard to unravel, is because, well, typical white person cannot even know, in a relationship with a black woman, cannot even truly understand or comprehend, I guess, the stakes or just the pervasive nature and of like microaggressions, or just like the right to exist and like to be in a state of trauma, like just to even feel like you can exist is, it definitely took on a different tone this year for us. So I had actually, before we moved back to Reno, my previous job was with a social justice nonprofit. And that was the first time that I've been an environmentalist, and, the conservation world is very white, and like there's such an intersectionality to it that I didn't comprehend at the time. I felt that it wasn't right, but there was more to learn. And when I went to work, it was the first time where I got to learn.
You're the minority.
Well, totally. Like, yeah. Allyship. What is allyship?
And he got to see how he got treated at that work for being like one of two white guys that were there, and how they looked at him, how they talked, and, and he got to see it in reverse. And so I think moving to Reno, he knew what it was like. I just think that it was easier for him to go back to what he knew was comfortable, which I had to we had to work on that and break that way of thinking, because I mean, we have a son, and if you think this is only happening to me and you don't think it's going to happen to your kid, that's crazy. And if these people do that, you have to think they're probably going to raise their kids to do that too. And for me, always, it was, I never wanted my son to go through that, or any of my kids to go through that, or, I don't even want to go through that, because why? When there's so many wonderful people in the world, why surround ourselves with people that don't want to grow, that don't want to learn, that think that this is normal and this is okay, and being a proud boy is like, it's like, why would you want to be that? There are so many different things to learn in this world. There's so many different languages to learn. And I don't know, America has this very proud way of being, but it has a very ugly history. And I think, I might have exposed a lot of them to that, and they were not ready for that. Nobody wants to be told that they're doing something wrong, or that the way that they idolize certain things is very offensive to other races. And
including myself, like, and not even necessarily the same degree, but including myself, like, it's hard
to hear, I think,
to sit with accountability, even if it's for, and sorry for speaking up, but like the sins of our ancestors, or just like what has led to this life that we have, this privilege that I enjoy as a white male, the sort of just inherent differences of existence that we have, and just to take a moment to sit with that. And what's your accountability? Are you a part of the problem, or are you a part of the solution moving forward?
Yes. And so I think the most wonderful thing that you could have done was get rid of those people out of your lives. And, I hope one day that they do change and that they do grow. I can't say that it seems like they will, but that is always the hope for everybody. And as people of color, our job, it's not to teach them what's right from wrong, because they know this, but our job is to be a little bit more open to people that are willing to change, and to be able to accept the fact that they're learning and changing when they decide to. And for me, it was stepping away in 2018, doing my own thing, getting my own group of friends who I love, and you know, that made all the difference for me. And I kind of had to give a little degrees of separation from my partner so that he could figure it out himself. And I will say it literally took 2 years for him to come around. I think you might have been a little bit, you had a lot of thought process you had to do and a little bit of depression in that of, I mean, he's known his friends forever, you know, so
it's
it's
if
a
I
big
may,
transition.
it's well coming into this isn't the first time that we've well to the degree and to I guess the sort of reaching nature of just the betrayal and sort of just like paradigm shift. Yeah, it was a pretty. I mean, a lot different than other ones. I've cut people out of our lives, family members
Yeah.
previously
Yeah.
for
My cousin particularly,
a
who,
couple of cousins
yeah,
and some
actually,
aunts.
yeah.
You know, it's just
it's been crazy what people will say to you. But I think the biggest thing for me was when I actually was trying to help a cousin of ours understand the racism in something. And he was like, I don't even care about this stuff. And it's like, why are you on my feed saying all this stuff that if you don't even care? And you know,
bullying.
you get to, yeah, and you start to understand that some people just like to taunt and some people aren't happy with themselves, so it's easy
Maintaining
to go
the
after
status quo.
other people, you know. And I, even with like certain family members, I'll just say, you know, Todd's dad was not the biggest fan of me, and you know, he did not like the color of my skin, and it literally took him getting to know me and then understanding that like we're not that different. Like, yes, our cultures are different, but we aren't really that different. And it's funny because now I'm like one of his favorite people. Could I say that?
The relationship they have now is just, I mean, it's what I always hoped for. But it was a long, hard journey. And, you know, my dad, both my parents coming from an even smaller, even more homogenous, rural white town, you know, they've evolved in their own ways, but really like our family had challenged some of that well, we talk about karmic trauma, or just like sort of your like sacred duty within your family, like of bringing healing. And certainly that was a part of my responsibility. That,
well, it's really cool to see like he went from being like a Trump supporter to being like, you know, like, oh my gosh, this guy's like not right, and these things that he's saying are not right. And it's like, yeah, I've been telling you this. And you know, for him to be like all for Black Lives Matter now, and like, and it's just like such a like, I don't know, that's why I say like you have to give people the chance to change and the opportunity, but you have to have those discussions and you have to understand where they were coming from to know exactly where they're going or what their new direction is. And also, like, I think why some people in your family knew they had to make change. I'm actually not the only African American in the family. Actually, we have another African American in the family that's married to his sister. So we have a ton of my nieces and nephews who are Black and mixed. So it's like you have to think about how you want to make those kids feel and what you want their future to look like. And I think, you know, some people got the picture and they understand, and that these are loving human beings. The color of their skin doesn't define who they are, you know. And one of the things that, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, you know, a lot of his friends specifically was like, oh, she's tough and, you know, she's mean to you. And it's like, no, we're hard this way. We're hardwired this way because we have to be. If you see, or if you know how much BS and how much racism that we put up with, you really think I'm going to have a light?
I made a ground flying.
ooh.
So with one of the things, it's like, I have to have a hard exterior. Are you kidding me? With all the BS I put up with, yeah, I have to be a harder person. I'm not gonna let people walk all over me, because if I let people walk all over me, they're gonna walk all over my child. And that's not gonna happen on my watch. So when people say like, oh, Black women are known to be hard or aggressive, like, some people take it offensively. I don't take it offensively. I say, yeah, so don't mess with me. Like, that's how I am. And I don't know, like, I believe that there's a saying amongst like for white people, and I think my husband needs to do this a lot. And it was like, oh, I'm a good person, and you know, I'm a good guy, I'm a nice guy. And it's like, nice people don't sit by and let people be racist to people that they love or to anybody and just sit there and like let it be and act like they didn't see it. Nice people don't, when they marry somebody and their friends are doing something that's obviously terrible, don't sit by and say, oh my God, am I gonna lose my friends, or do I care? You stand up for what's right if you're a nice person, if you're a good person. And I think that this light versus dark has this like dark is bad, light is good. And it's just a systemical racist thing that's been in America forever. It's not true, it's not real. You know, I know so many people that are wonderful that are Black and that are not wonderful, and people that are wonderful that are white and that are not wonderful, hence any other race. So, but that's my choice to know so many different people. I've always taken such pride and such happiness in meeting people of different cultures, trying different foods, like, but that's just me. That's something I've always been into. So I can't say it's for everybody. Not everybody's into that. And also not everybody gets the opportunity to leave their town, I also want to say. So the mind doesn't really expand that much more without reading, knowledge, education, travel. So if you don't have those opportunities, or you come from a family that like that's not something they do, it is hard to expand your mind and to think outside this small box that you've been brought up in. I will say that Australia opened my mind a lot when it came to relationships outside of like my husband identifying as bi, you know, like for me it was like you know, I guess like Australia opened my mind to seeing things in a different light. Again, it was mostly white people in Australia, but like they also had the same problems with Aboriginal people. Like they had let that particular part of Australia's culture down, like massively. Like you think it's bad in America, it's really bad there.
Stolen
like
generation.
they literally robbed them of their generation, of their education, healthcare, children. They literally took their children away from the adults, saying like, we could teach your kids better and raise them better. Like that's crazy, right? But that is what is happening in the world. And the sooner you have empathy for people other than yourself or your origin or your race, like you will be that much better of a person. You will be able to just, I don't even know how to say it, but you'll have so much more friendships, so much more like love to give when you learn to open yourself up and understand that it's not a blame game necessarily. It's more of a like, how can I be empathetic to the history of this person that they had to go through, and how can I going forward as a person be an ally for this person, you know? Like that's the goal ultimately. What did you say?
Well, yeah, you know, everyone's journey in anti-racism looks different, but the first step is acknowledging your own accountability to be first, to not be racist, but also what it means to be anti-racist. Like go beyond, choose to challenge yourself and myself, that like maybe there's more you can do as a father of a Black child and a husband of a Black woman. Like it's my fight. Like this is our family's fight, and you can't just sit on the sidelines and, well, just give people passes in some instances, or refuse to see what it is that's going on there because you're worried about offending somebody or damaging someone's ego or losing a friendship. Like, yeah. But that, or even in my case, like challenging yourself with letting go of your whole friend group of origin, just to the attachment of what, not even that it was this, just to let yourself free of this, what defines you, and just be yourself and be real and accept people and explore people, allow people to be them, whoever they are. And that's the purpose of free will and life and whatever your beliefs are. I don't, that vibes with everyone's beliefs unless you come from a standpoint of not loving yourself, which won't allow you to love others.
Yeah. And I will say you definitely learned to love yourself a lot 2020. So I mean, in 2020, even though it's been very hard for a lot of people and it's been a lot of deaths and it's a hard time, 2020, especially with jobs and businesses closing. I will say the one thing that's been nice is that we've had to spend a lot of time together. So been able to hash things out and be on each other's team again, like we were when we were in Oakland and when we were in LA. And I don't know, it's just nice to get back to where we were and progress actually. I don't regret what we went through, because if we hadn't gone through it, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I think you've grown a lot, and I've grown a lot. And I don't think we'll ever have those.
Robo vehicles here. Can I
Almost
share
done,
which
Nico.
one I
Yeah.
want to
We're almost done.
make? I want to make this one,
Okay.
the orange one.
All right.
So I think that we've both grown a lot, and what we went through helped us get to where we are now, and back to the relationship we do have that is wonderful, because we've known each other forever and we've always been each other's people. It's just some people do not want you to succeed or to be together, and they will do everything and anything to wipe somebody out if it doesn't work for them. And just know, like, family is everything. My brother used to say that more than anything. Like, family is everything. Friends come and go, but family is everything. So you have to make your priority about your family, not your friends. And all the friends that are meant to be in your life will come into your life. What's meant for you will always be meant for you. No one can take that away from you.
Yeah, learning how to be an ally was huge for me, and well, beginning to see the world with a racial equity lens, it changed, I guess, the way I think, the way I viewed the world. We were living in Oakland, and I was working at this nonprofit in Berkeley when in 2014, when Black Lives Matter, when that was kind of the first big explosion of just like community action. And we were in the midst of it, and it's such a different place in our relationship. We were not engaged yet and childless, which is a huge difference, and still sort of figuring out our life plan. So I learned a lot in this experience, but at the same time, it was really to prepare me for the true calling of, well, being a father in a mixed family. And that responsibility is goes way beyond anything I could ever have to do in the work world or social world. Progression of ally to then being a father in a mixed family, it really sort of began to grasp the level of just my sacred calling and my duty to not just be this way myself, or attempt to be this way myself, but to live loudly, to show that, and to have her feel that in every decision that I make, in every way of working for our family, and in who I choose to have around me. And I guess part of it was the perceived fear of loss, was maybe what took a long time for me to really, I guess, put her first. Being anti-racist, 2020, sort of just the way that we were personally attacked by people who I thought were closest to us, was really just sort of I don't know, it peels the top off, really exposing to me, as she mentioned before, I'm a nice guy, or just want the difference between intentions and impact, like the difference between intent and impact. Like just because you think of yourself as a nice person, you can still be making asshole decisions every day. And that's what it comes down to. Is I don't, it oversimplifies it, but don't be an asshole. Like, and you have to choose by loving yourself. And part of loving yourself is doing the shadow work. It's facing the dark. It's not saying I'm a good person, I've never done anything wrong. No, it's like sitting with the shadow, the dark spot, and facing your demons, facing the dark sides of yourself that are holding you back from growing to be a better person, and loving yourself, and being able to appreciate everyone else just for who they are on their own journey and their own
And also being
struggles.
open and honest about who you are and what you want for your life. I feel like a lot of people get to these friendships that they've had for so long, and like they like conform to these friendships and think like, oh, I can't be this person because my friends wouldn't approve or agree. And like honestly, what it comes down to is like you have to be able to be honest and open with your friends. And when you are, and if they don't approve or agree, they're not your friends anymore. Like friends, you grow out of them. Sometimes they're for reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. And we always hope for lifetime friends, but there are billions and billions of people in this world. You can make friends everywhere and anywhere. I don't think that you grow much if you always keep the same exact friends. You can have them if they work for you, but making new friends opens new doors.
Healthy exploration of life.
Yeah.
And well, you know, friends can be a strong anchor, which is great until you're trying to leave port.
Yeah.
And as a white person, it's your job to call your family out. It's your job to call your friends out. It's not okay. And you have to be willing to lose people and walk away. You know, it's, you don't, well, we've been fortunate. We've been blessed to be able to adventure and explore and travel. And you don't have to necessarily leave your immediate sphere to open your mind. You know, we have the internet is a great way to connect with people, and part of in all of this, I guess the community, Black Lives Matter, anti-racism, polyam communities,
Meetups.
like so many different groups of people out there that might be your people that you don't even know are your people because you've never been around like people like that before. So they exist, trust me. Like you have to raise your flag to be found.
Work on those social skills. Yeah.
Which is, we live in a digital world, and we met online and 13 years ago when it's dial-up still. That was funny.
That's a little bit about some of the things we went through. If you have any more questions or you'd like us to tap in on any other topics regarding racism and interracial marriage, just let us know. You can comment and question, and any questions you have, we'll definitely address in our next videos. So don't be afraid to ask questions. We're all ears, and we're here to answer your questions. And we're not experts on anything. We are just living this life that we were given, and we are just trying to do it the most honest and the way we want to do it, because it's our one life to live. So remember that. It's your one life to live. Nobody defines it but you.
It's never too late to change your life. Thanks for stopping by. Click subscribe.